Hello, online pipe community. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper here. Today we've got some more morsels for mental manducation, and yes, we are back into C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. But first, wearing something a little more reminiscent of Charlie Boca de Boynton. I am smoking a 3-star Pipe by Lee Bull Moose, custom built style, nice thick chunky pipe, with another bowl of Germain and Son, King Charles. Charring light's just about out. I'll have to fiddle with that in a minute. Last time you recall, we discussed Lewis' division of morality into 3 parts: the person-to-person interactions, the internal morality, and then the person-to-God, man-to-God connection. And before he dives into those 3, that way of looking at morality, in this chapter he's going to discuss the 7 virtues, which is just a different framework, significantly different, but a different framework for looking at morality. In particular, in this chapter, he discusses the 4 cardinal virtues, not cardinal as in an exalted Catholic priest, but cardinal as in hinging, something that is important. All right, time to relight. Sorry about that. Nice. First of these, of the 4 cardinal virtues, before I dive into them, he points out that these first 4 are fairly universal. We discussed universal moral law earlier. Now we are looking at morality from a Christian perspective, but these first 4 are pretty universal. Everybody pretty much agrees that these are good things, admirable characteristics. So the first one of those virtues is prudence. Now, prudence doesn't necessarily mean hesitancy. It means thinking before you speak or act, looking at the consequences of whatever it is you're going to say or do before you do it, and weighing those consequences, good or bad. Is it really what you want? Prudence is the application of common sense, which, as many of us have commented, seems to not be terribly common anymore. I can't tell you how many times I hear Christians say, "Oh, but God's in control, He's got that," as an excuse for either being unprepared or doing something foolish. This is an abuse of the notion of God's sovereignty. It is true, God is sovereign. That does not mean that He controls everything that happens, or that it will come out in your benefit if you are a Christian. I can't tell you how many Christians have been killed in car accidents because they chose not to wear their seatbelts. I do know some. God doesn't necessarily save you from your own foolishness. He does expect you to exercise prudence. Next one on the list, temperance. The word temperance, at one point in time, closer to his time, in fact, came to mean the movement, the temperance movement, was the anti-alcohol movement, not just anti-drunkenness, but anti-alcohol, period. It's what led to prohibition in the U.S. And it was essentially a bunch of busybodies telling everybody else how to live. That, however, is not temperance. Temperance is self-control. Temperance is moderation. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head in which gluttony is admired. Note for the Christian, however, it may be that there are certain things that you, as an individual, should not do. For example, if you have trouble with alcohol, you shouldn't drink. That, however, does not mean that everyone else on the planet should follow the same rule that you must follow. Because the principle is temperance. Now, we should all be temperate. And in at least one area. Almost all of us fail in that. Third, we have justice. Justice encompasses, and here we're talking about justice at the individual level, not providing justice in society, but in terms of morality. What does justice mean on a personal level? Well, it means things like fairness, honesty, truthfulness. If I am dishonest with someone or about them, then I've taken something away from them unfairly. I have not lived in the virtue of justice. Same would be on an individual level if I cheat someone in business. If I don't pay the full price for something, they give me too much change. Well, I know personally that I've cheated them. That's not living in justice. So there are lots of things on an individual level that involve fairness, truthfulness, honesty. Those lead themselves into justice as a principle. The last one of the four cardinal virtues that he discusses is fortitude. Now, this also encompasses a number of concepts. Yes, fortitude involves a bravery of a sort. It involves steadfastness, and it involves perseverance. Fortitude is not merely the bravery of a soldier, but the bravery also of someone who lives with chronic pain, whether it's physical or mental, and chooses yet to stand. That's fortitude. We admire these virtues. We admire these qualities in people around us when we see that a person has fortitude. Now, Lewis points out that this, for the Christian, is not just the same thing as doing things that exhibit these characteristics. Because God is concerned not merely with us following some legalistic set of rules, rights and wrongs, and do this, don't do that, but with the kind of people that we become. And so the motivation, why we're doing it, is important too. Lewis uses an analogy that I like. As with all analogies, it's imperfect. But he uses the analogy of a poor tennis player who, losing in a fit of rage, hits the ball very hard, wins that point. Now, striking the ball very hard may very well be the right thing to have done. It won the point, but it's not likely to make him a better tennis player. God wants you and me to be better tennis players. With that, we're going to leave off until next week. Light something you like. Enjoy your afternoon.